I first believed.
Family, friends, and loved ones, possibly even the children of missing person Jessica Stacks, gathered at a vigil trying to raise awareness and honor their search for truth, for answers in terms of where is Jessica and what happened to her. This is a case that takes place on New Year's Day 2021. Here we are several months later, not a whole lot of answers, and the media on this case seems like it's running out. I need your help. We need to help re-raise exposure. We got to keep people talking and people looking for Jessica. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Jessica Stacks. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. And let's take a look at the missing person we're talking about today. This is Jessica Stacks, and you might see in different areas her name as Jessica Stacks, also Jessica Nicole Sweener. Jessica Sweener is her maiden name. Jessica Stacks was her married name. She did go through a divorce, but I believe that she kept the name through the divorce. She had children in that marriage as well. But let's go ahead and get started with the information and try to make some sense out of a truly perplexing case. Starting at Wikipedia to learn about where this is going on. New Albany, Mississippi. New Albany is a city in Union County, and you might notice on the phone number down below, it's for the Union County Sheriff. The population was 8,034 at the 2010 census. It was first organized in 1840 at the site of a grist mill and a sawmill on the Tallahatchie River, and was developed as a river port. And I'm sharing that information with you guys because the Tallahatchie River is going to play directly into today's case. As of 2010, New Albany is known for its education system, well-educated labor force, and strong work ethic. The city houses modern factories, robust neighborhoods, and vibrant shopping centers, while at the same time preserving its historic downtown area. Just a quick stop over at a Facebook page for Jessica. I'm trying not to show because she's got pictures of her children all over it. I think there's some articles that are releasing some of those pictures. I'm going to try to be careful about that. But here it notes she lives in New Albany, Mississippi. She's from Holcomb, Mississippi, and she likes camping, fishing, and listening to music. And that kind of outdoorsiness also a big factor in today's case. So what's going on with it? Let's jump over to NamUs. Date of last contact, New Year's Day, January 1st, 2021. Missing from New Albany, Mississippi, 28-year-old Jessica Nicole Stacks, a white female. Stands at 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs between 110 to 115 pounds. For the circumstances of disappearance, Jessica Nicole Stacks and her boyfriend launched a boat into the Tallahatchie River on New Year's Day near a bridge on County Road 46. About 2 miles downstream, her boyfriend stated that Stacks got out of the boat at around 10 a.m., walking along the riverbank toward Highway 30. It's one of the strangest circumstances of disappearance sections that I've read on NamUs. Very important distinction that they're making here. Her boyfriend stated. And that's one of the things that right off the bat, I'm wondering, is this a last sighting that we can trust? Maybe it is, but it's the way that it's phrased. It's just kind of put up my antennas a little bit about, okay, do we not have any other people that are confirming that? Maybe we have a potential in that as we're getting through the articles. Hair color, blonde or strawberry blonde, medium length. She has green eyes. For piercings, she's got her ears pierced, her tongue is pierced, and her nose is pierced. For tattoos, we've got several. Playboy bunny on her left pelvis with Lil Sis under it. Butterfly on her right hand beside her thumb. Kaylee on her back. Braden on her wrist. Kobe with a puzzle piece on her forearm. It's saying it can't remember which arm here. Love on her calf and a tribal on her lower back. So a lot of tattoos. Clothing and accessories. No information entered, and it's another one of the questions about this case. She went out on a boat with her boyfriend. Why don't we have a description on the clothing? I don't know. Additional case information, transportation, nothing really important there. For images and documents, basically only two. One of them is a poster, and I just wanted to bring this up because you get a few of the tattoos here. You could see the one that's on her wrist. I know they're not great quality. You could see Kobe and the puzzle piece. That's it that I've been able to find for pictures of the tattoos. Outside of one additional, I think this might be, I don't know, because the explanation said it was on her right hand, but she appears to have some kind of mark close to her thumb on her left here. So potentially that's a location of one of the other tattoos, but I think that's on the wrong side based on the description that we have here. Butterfly on her right hand beside her thumb, unless this picture has been reversed for social media, which is a possibility. But that's it. For contact information, basically it's the Union County Sheriff, and there is a case number. I'm going to have those in the details down below, but there's a very important consideration when it comes to social media and contacting the sheriff. So don't start picking up those phones yet. Let's hear about what the challenges that the Sheriff's Department has had with social media and make sure we've got the right type of information that's being called into them. All right, so getting to the articles over at WTVA.com, this one from January 2nd, at least for the original posting. Union County Sheriff Jimmy Edwards tells WTVA that a woman is missing in Union County. The sheriff says the woman got out of a boat that was on the Tallahatchie River Saturday. Edwards says footprints were found in the West Union area on the West Union school side of the river, about 1.5 miles past the school, headed west on Highway 30 is what they say here. I think it's time to bring up a map so we can start trying to analyze this, because I think that description isn't great. So this is the area. The West Union School that article was referring to is right up here. And the road that it's actually on is that Highway 30 road. But we can see it's got kind of a bend that's going on here. It looks like it starts heading north. If you continue following it, it actually starts leaning more west and then does a pretty sharp turn here. And it actually crosses the Tallahatchie River. And I just want to point out, in case you guys look into this for yourselves, Google Maps, if you look up Tallahatchie River, actually brings up one that is like 100 miles west of this. And this in Google Maps and Google Earth is noted as being Little Tallahatchie River. I'm positive this is the right location based off the other information we have about where the school is, where the highway is supposed to be, and all that stuff. So just know if you go searching for it, it's probably easier to search on the school and then to kind of zoom out and find the river from there. Because even Little Tallahatchie, I ran that as well. There's also a Little Tallahatchie River. I don't know if it's an extension of this one or just another one, but it's about 100 miles west of this location. And that's the result that Google wants to take you to. But for points of consideration, all right, so the boat entrance, I believe it was at the 46, if I recall properly, is here. So reportedly, this is where they drive. We're going to hear that someone actually helps them in terms of launching the boat. They launch the boat from this area and start kind of coasting down. About 2 miles is the information that we're told for when she gets out. I've seen it kind of two different ways, 1.5 to 2 miles. So somewhere kind of in this stretch, she decides that she wants out of the boat. One of the big questions I have is why? What exactly were the conditions of that? Quite honestly, we're not even 100% sure why they were here. The sheriff is going to give us some information that it seems like they might have been hunting. That certainly seems to line up with some of the social information that I've seen around things that she likes to do. But what would prompt them to leave the boat? What would prompt her specifically to leave the boat at this point and her boyfriend to stay in it? We don't know. And of course, some people like on WebSleuths and other places are thinking, was there some type of disagreement? Was there an argument? She wanted to get out of the boat and he stayed in it effectively. But somewhere in this area is where she gets out. Now, the way that article was describing it, I was thinking, were they saying that she was kind of walking back towards Highway 30 that's up by the school? I don't think so. I think what they mean is that she was walking towards Highway 30 where it eventually crosses the river, that she was effectively walking along the side of the river. But that's kind of an interesting thing too. I mean, from what I understand, their boat came in here, so their vehicle's probably back here somewhere. Why is she going to walk further up? Why wouldn't she just stay in the boat with her boyfriend if that's what they were going to do? Unless this is some hunting thing that I don't understand. If there's possibly some benefit to her being on the land, him being in the boat, and them working that together in terms of hunting. I'm not sure. So just trying to make sense out of these comments at the articles. We will certainly be coming back to this map as we continue looking through this, but let's get some more of the details. The woman was in a boat with another person. We know that that's her boyfriend. Got out along the river, the sheriff says. He says that he and other authorities did not get word about the missing woman until Friday at about 10 p.m. Now, if you remember from the NamUs profile, they say that she got out of that boat in the description of the events at about 10 a.m. So we're talking her getting out of the boat at 10 a.m. I don't know if she's still in sight for a while. Does he feel comfortable with where she is for a matter of hours? Something happens over the course of 12 hours here. We've got a huge window of time. And honestly, we don't have a ton of explanation about what's going on in that time. Some of the explanation that we do have, I think personally, you guys might find a little hard to believe in places, but we're going to push through it. The sheriff says that the darkness and high waters have hampered attempts to find her. Remember, this is happening in late December. Apparently, they had some severe weather back then. The water on the river was actually raised considerably. Seems like it was moving fast. They were worried about that with search efforts, particularly at nighttime. And, they don't get on this until 10 p.m. So let's continue over at djournal.com. Authorities searched until around 3 a.m. So on January 2nd. So they're saying, they hear about it at 10. They get their guys out there and effectively they search for somewhere around, 4 or 5 hours. They then resumed the search the next morning and into the night. And on Sunday, officials searched all day until dark. Drones with thermal imaging technology have been used in the search. Obviously, one of the considerations that we're worried about here is that she wound up in the water. And something else that I'm learning about this area is because of all the rain that was happening and all the channels that kind of push towards that river in particular, you might have other areas, pockets of water where she could have been as well. So getting drones up this quickly with thermal imaging makes a lot of sense in a case like this. I was really happy to see that they had acted so quickly on that front. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything. And you would think, even if this was the worst case for us to consider, some type of accident and she had passed away, if her body temperature is probably going to take some time before it acclimates to the water temperature that's around her. The thermal imaging theoretically should have picked that up, and we don't have that happening in this case. The boat was found about a mile upriver from the Rocky Ford Bridge at Etta. So that area where I was showing you, where it looks like the 30 crosses over the Tallahatchie, the Little Tallahatchie River, that is where Rocky Fort Bridge is. So about a mile further up from this is where the boat would be found. Which is kind of interesting. Why was the boat left there? We don't know what's going on with the boyfriend. Is he freaking out at this point? He gets out of the boat. From what I understand, he actually gets out of the boat on the opposite side. So he's over on this side. And some of the information makes it sound like there's a chance he might have been lost or something. We'll see what you guys think about it as we hit it. It's just, there's some weird explanation about what's happening with him and how that boat gets there. But that's where it's found. There's also a very strange consideration. On Sunday, there were 2 boats in the river searching for stacks and a Mississippi Highway Patrol helicopter. Also helping on this was the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, the Union County Search and Rescue Team, as well as people from all kinds of neighboring communities. They had about 75 to 85 people searching for her on that Sunday. The sheriff continues talking about that it was difficult to search on foot at night because the water could, quote, sweep you away. So literally, we've got pretty dangerous conditions. When the river water is high, people sometimes see if they can catch deer or hogs that have been pushed to higher ground, said Edwards, the sheriff. This may have been what Stacks and her male companion were trying to do, the sheriff added. But you see, even in how that's phrased, that's not a confirmation that, yeah, we talked to her boyfriend. He said that they were out there hunting. It sounds like he's kind of assuming that that's what they were doing in the area. The sheriff has not released the name of the person Stacks was with. Another article from djournal.com. This is a picture of Jessica with her mother, Kathy. Of course, her mother is really upset. You saw a bit of that in the video that we opened today's video with. Family members said they want to see justice done, and they're praying for a happy resolution of the case. Her parents are Kathy Jones of Okolona and Jerry Sweener of Houston. Sweener is her maiden name. Her birthday, June 11th, 1992. Carla Jones, who is Stack's first cousin, briefly outlined the life that brought Stacks to this point. Stacks graduated from Itawamba Community College. She and Jacob Stacks married. They had 3 children, but then they got divorced just about a year ago, Jones said. Stacks and a male companion launched a boat. The two apparently planned to float downstream in the little tin boat. This is a boat that does not have a motor. I want to thank the WebSleuths community because I read through the whole thread on it, and there's people that do such good research there in terms of trying to understand conditions like this. I think, based on what I saw at WebSleuths, this boat would not have a motor because that's one of the conditions of them being able to hunt from the boat. Of course, it does just kind of make you it makes me concerned to think that, they had storms in this area that were bringing in all kinds of water. The water level's higher than usual, and you're going in and out in a boat, just like from a safety perspective, that doesn't have a motor. But for people that are experienced outdoorsmen, I'm sure that's no problem at all. People often shoot wild hogs from the river. It's unclear if that's what she and her male companion planned to do, Jones said. So once again, we've got a family member here kind of confirming we think that that's what they're out there doing, but we don't know for sure. Stacks left several footprints behind near the river. So this is one of those things where if you do want to consider there's potentially some foul play situation going on or something like that, we have law enforcement basically confirming they're finding footprints that they are relatively certain belong to her. Are those footprints alone? We don't know. Are there people walking with her? We don't know. I mean, there's conditions about the footprints that might lead you into, different conclusions. But based on what I'm hearing from the quotes from the sheriff's office here, it seems like the footprints are lining up with the situation that they're being told that she had gotten out of the boat alone. I would think he would probably point out if that wasn't exactly what they found, unless he thought that it was very important to the investigation. I don't know. That's all the details we have. They confirm some footprints. They are relatively certain that they belong to her, but we don't really know the conditions around those footprints. Her boots were later found. They had been cut off her. This aspect I don't understand at all. And maybe some of you out there that live in this area or have more experience with doing this kind of outdoor stuff, maybe you can drop some comments down below to let me know. I can't imagine a situation where you would cut your boots off of you. In the WebSleuths conversations, I did see people talk about, I've been stuck before. I've been in this type of area. Things are really wet. The mud's really deep. Your boot goes in and it just gets stuck. But even in those conditions, they're saying basically you get your foot out and you just leave the boot behind. Why the boots would have been cut off, I don't know. We don't know what type of boots these even are. So it could be that them having to be cut off might make more sense if we knew specifically what type of boot this is. But would it? I don't know. Some of the conversation I'm seeing around this, Some people are assuming that the boots had to be cut off, possibly for very dark reasons like rigor mortis or something along those lines. Other people theorizing that maybe the boots had been cut so that someone with a bigger foot could put them on, maybe to make those tracks. Is this a staging scenario, this whole thing? Is it possible that she's not out there at all? Maybe was never on the boat to begin with? Just another thing to keep in mind as we continue looking through all this. She didn't have her cell phone with her at the time she left the boat. It was later located and turned in, Jones said. Another weird aspect we're going to hear more about. And the reason behind that, maybe it's reasonable. Searchers combing the area later located the boat about a mile upriver from the Rocky Ford Bridge at Etta. Her purse was in the boat, according to Jones. Now, what kind of sense that makes, I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine this situation. Whatever the reason for her getting out of the boat is, she gets out of the boat. The boyfriend stays in the boat. He goes a couple miles further down, decides he's going to get out of the boat, gets out of the boat, leaves her purse behind. That's one of those things that when it comes to that thought of, is this some type of staging job? I don't get why you would leave. I mean, I think my wife would kill me if I left her purse behind in some type of similar situation like that. I don't understand. Maybe leaving the boat behind makes sense, especially if you're worried. You haven't seen your significant other for a period of time and you're starting to freak out. But then leaving their purse behind when you're concerned about that, I don't know. Jones said the family is appreciative of searchers' efforts to find Jessica, but said she's been told of people volunteering to help who have been turned away by authorities. Explained Sheriff Edwards, it's tough territory, a lot of water and ditches, and we have people trained to do this. Also, some of that area is private land and the landowner is not real crazy about people tearing it up. We hear about these types of considerations in searches. Sometimes if it's just too dangerous, they have to be careful about how they enlist volunteer help. And it sounds like that's the same thing we have going on here. Said Jones, her voice breaking, I remember my baby cousin running around barefoot at our grandmother's house. Our family is seeking justice in the case. I'm trying to be a voice for her because she's not here to speak for herself. And we keep hearing that word justice. If this is really an accidental situation, justice doesn't typically play a part of that. Now, one other consideration we're hearing about here, them potentially hunting for wild hogs. We've covered a few different missing persons cases where the people working those cases are concerned that wild or feral hogs might be responsible for consuming remains and making it very tough to find their missing loved ones. I did find a little FAQ on Mississippi wildlife in particular, talking about what wild hogs eat. And the answer, anything. They are classified as opportunistic omnivores, which means they'll eat just about anything they come across. Most of their diet consists of plant matter, like 90%, but they won't hesitate to eat live or dead animal matter. So is that a possibility affecting this case as well? I don't know. The other cases where I've heard this come up have been in Texas. The feral hogs in that area, we're talking like 400 pounds. From the information I'm seeing about the wild hogs in this area, more like, 150-pound animals. But I think it could be a consideration. Over to news.yahoo.com, and I just want to point out Andrea Cavalier. Whenever you see that name, you know that you're in for quality work. She does a very, very good job. And I just want to let you guys know if you're looking, she usually works on, as a matter of fact, I think this is a reprint from NBC Dateline from their web articles. But just keep an eye out for Andrea and you'll know you're in good hands. It's been 10 days since 28-year-old Jessica Nicole Stacks disappeared and her family fears the worst. My soul is telling me that something is very, very wrong, Jessica's mother, Kathy Story, told Dateline. Jessica's boyfriend, here's the name, Jerry Wayne Baggett, told law enforcement officials that he and Jessica had launched a boat into the river. They were on the water for a couple of hours when Jessica reportedly got out of the boat and made her way toward the North River bank in the direction of State Highway 30. Baggett told the sheriff's office. So once again, we're getting these kind of clarifying statements. Her purse and car keys. So that's something we didn't quite get in the last article. Her car keys also left behind. So she gets off this boat, leaves her purse behind, doesn't take her keys, already doesn't have her cell phone. Somehow her boots get cut off. Very, very strange conditions. Sheriff Edwards told Dateline that Jessica's cell phone was later turned in by an individual who stated that he had it because Jessica and Baggett had planned to call him on it to be picked up at the end of their boating trip that day. So supposedly this is a friend. I think he also helped them launch the boat. At that point, they decide, here, you hold on to Jessica's phone and we're going to call you on Jessica's phone when we need you to come get us. That's the official story. It wasn't until 10:15 p.m. that evening that the Union County Sheriff's Department was informed of her disappearance. Jessica's mother, Kathy, knew something was wrong, particularly because the following day, January 2nd, was her brother's 15th birthday, Kathy explained tearfully. They are very close. She would never miss his birthday. He's autistic, and he doesn't understand why she's not here. Sheriff Edwards told Dateline that a coat they believe Jessica had been wearing also found. It's not known what else she was wearing that day, which is just I don't understand that at all. We've got someone literally sitting in a boat across from her for at least a few hours, and we don't have a clothing description, like jeans, t-shirt, some other type of clothing description. But so her boots off, jacket found, I believe her gloves also found. And that's the thing that just keeps me on the fence about the potential that this is some type of staging job, maybe to tie up resources by having them look in a completely incorrect area. But if you go down that train of thought, you have to think this person that had her cell phone has to be part of the equation, because either he saw her that morning and helped them launch the boat, or he didn't. So even if we're thinking the worst and the boyfriend is involved in this, there is someone else that potentially has a piece to this puzzle that might be able to help as well. Quote, "We're exhausting all options in order to find her," Sheriff Edwards said. "It's important to us that we find her, and we aren't giving up. She didn't just walk away, and if she was hurt, we would have found her," Kathy's mother told Dateline. "Someone did something to her. I know it." Sheriff Edwards told Dateline that they do not have any evidence that points to foul play at this time. So as I'm looking, source by source on this case, there's these little variations that happen in the story. So I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm being a little repetitive with some of this, but I'm trying to get all these different little considerations out there so you guys have a more complete picture. Over at NamUs.news, at one point about a mile or a mile and a half past West Union, Stacks got out of the boat, saying she intended to walk out of the river bottom, according to what the sheriff was told. Another thing I'm wondering about, I looked at where the center of the city that she lives in is, and that's actually about 20 miles away. Where exactly was she walking? Like, there's a big piece of this story missing. Where was she going to go? Her keys and her purse in the boat, doesn't have a cell phone. She's walking ahead in the same direction that the boat's traveling, at least according to the information that we're hearing, reportedly from Baggett. Why? Why is she going to that bridge in particular, and where's she going to go from there? Baggett continued down the river at least a couple of miles before getting out on the opposite side of the river, Edwards said. He ended up calling his son, and they said for him to stay where he was and they would come and get him. They told him to holler and yell and they would find him. So this is another very interesting aspect. I don't know if the guy that has her cell phone that helped them launch the boat is his son. If it is, then this part kind of makes sense. That was their plan the whole time, right? When we get to the end of this ride, I'm going to call you up and you're going to come and get us. And the way this is phrased, that kind of seems right. But I'm seeing other information that says this might not be the person that he was supposed to call at the end of the boat ride, that he's calling someone different. And if that's the case, it makes you wonder why. Why change the plan all of a sudden? You've got her phone supposedly with this person. Now you're not going to call that person. You're going to call someone else, and they're going to come out and try to find you. And this is why I was saying earlier, I get the feeling, I don't know if he was maybe not lost exactly. I mean, I'm sure he knows he went past that bridge where the 30 goes over the river, but did he not know how far he went? Because he's got someone saying, hey, yeah, be sure to holler and we're going to come find you. When they found Baggett, it became apparent that Stacks was missing. I don't know what that phrasing means. I don't know. Are they quoting something from the Sun? I'm not sure, because what I'm really curious about is, when does Baggett get concerned? And what's the time frame for this phone call to the Sun? She gets out of the boat somewhere around, 8 a.m. according to NamUs? 10 a.m. And we know that it's not called into the authorities until 10 p.m. So where in that massive timeline is this even happening? Although Stacks owned a cell phone, she didn't have it with her. The sheriff said the plan had been to leave her phone with the person who helped them put the boat in. They took Baggett's phone with them in order to call her phone when they decided to get out of the river. That person would then come and get them. Now, even the way this is phrased, or at least the person writing this article has not made any connection to say that his son is the same person that they left her phone with. Yesterday, the water was out, and it appears when she got out, she was surrounded by water and maybe didn't realize that was going to be the case, the sheriff said. Maybe she couldn't cross. It was too deep. There was a very deep dragline ditch between there and the road, and if it were filled with water, you wouldn't know how deep it was until you stepped in it. So pretty clear here, the sheriff is considering some type of accidental situation. What's a little confusing about that is, if he is concerned about that particular area, knowing that they used drones that are essentially able to read heat signatures and they're not finding anything out there, how long do you sit on that as a possibility before you say, okay, we got to move on to other possibilities? Because obviously that's not it. How many searches have to go on out there? And with those searches, do you ever get to that point? I mean, we've heard from professional searches, you can never be 100% sure that you've got everything checked. So another article from NEMIS.news, Jessica Stacks missing 10 days. Sheriff says not ready to quit looking for her. Heavy rains had fallen in the last days of December. The river was out of its banks and much of the bottomland was flooded. Had Stacks taken the shortest straight line distance to Highway 30, about 35 degrees north-northeast, the distance would have been about a mile. However, that most direct route would have taken her through standing water with heavy brush, as well as natural and man-made ditches. Those would have been challenging obstacles even to a well-equipped, military-trained ranger. Stacks was said not to have been warmly dressed. We know that her jacket is found. So obviously she had a jacket at one point. We don't have a clothing description on the rest, so I'm not sure where that is coming from exactly. If she had tried to walk a route more to the north or northwest, the distance to Highway 30 would have been far greater and the obstacles much more formidable. I just passed over a little bit of an important point. The coat that she was wearing that was found, it was found near one of the deep man-made ditches. So of course, you're going to have concerns about her winding up in some type of terrible situation like that. The search for Jessica Stacks has been one of the most extensive and intense searches ever made in Northeast Mississippi. NEMIS.news has not learned of any evidence of a crime at this point. Baggett is said to have had a hunting gun when he and Stacks launched into the river on January 1st. That gun is in the custody of the Union County Sheriff. Just in terms of moving this needle from accidental to foul play situation, we've got another factor there in terms of, there is a gun that's part of this. Of course, if they're going hunting, you're going to assume that there's a gun, but we have clarification there. There indeed was. Sheriff Edwards was asked by this reporter if Jerry Wayne Baggett had helped in the search. Edwards said, "We have seen him riding the roads." Edwards indicated that Baggett has been cooperative, but that only trained law enforcement and emergency personnel have been actively involved in the search. I can say that in all the articles I'm seeing where, and even the family comments have been somewhat controlled or maybe limited. I haven't seen him actually interviewed by any of the major publications. All of the information seems to be kind of routing in through what the sheriff has been told by him. That being said, over at missingpersonsofamerica.com, I just want to say I really appreciate Jerry Dean's work. I think she does a great job of looking at multiple sources and hitting different considerations. The question about her boots being found cut off her and some information from Jerry is here. I just want to put a little bit of a note out there that I don't know the source of this information. It looks like it's obviously social media. I don't know, is this Twitter? Is this Facebook? I can't confirm the source for myself. So we have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Like I said, I do appreciate Jerry Dean's work. I do really trust her. She usually cites her sources very, very strongly. For this, she seems to be very convinced that it is indeed him. I can't confirm it for myself, so we have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But according to what is here at missingpersonsofamerica.com, a post that looks like it's by Jerry. I can tell you the picture does match pictures that I've seen of him. And it seems like he's answering someone. "Ma'am, we stopped. She pulled the boat on the bank, cut off her boot because it was hurting her leg. My baby started walking toward the bridge where we put in, and she never came back." Well, hold on a second. If this is him, and if that's him making that statement actually contradicts what we've been hearing from the sheriff about the statements that he made to them, which was that she was walking towards where the 30 was. The 30 crossing the bridge, that would have been ahead of where she was. But if this is a statement from Jerry, he's actually saying, no. She was going back to where we put the boat in. That's back this way. That's not the 30 that's coming over there. The 30 goes swinging off far out to the east at that point. So that's pretty important difference. Once again, I would love to know if this is 100% confirmed that this is a comment from him. Let's see what else we could pull out of this. That's the truth. And I put it on my dad's grave. I stayed till dark waiting on my baby. I didn't know anything was wrong till I got home and she wasn't there. Now, we have him out there for hours, and we don't have a solid time frame on that phone call that he makes to his son when they go out and find him. But we've got a gap of 12 hours. He's not concerned at any point, leaves her purse behind in the boat, goes home, and was expecting her to be there. Like, I really wish that we had the details of what the plan was for her to get off the boat. Here we're starting to get a little bit of an idea. If what he's saying is accurate here, maybe she was uncomfortable in the boat. Her boot is hurting, so she cuts it. She cuts the boot off. I don't know. I'm still having trouble trying to make sense out of this. I'm sorry if it's not the answer you're looking for, but it's the truth. Now, I want answerer and bad as anyone. I'm not sure what he's trying to say there. She is my world, despite our differences. Me and my family prays for her family, and we pray for ours. We all want answers. Now, please, no unnecessary feedback. Please, I had enough. And as a matter of fact, let me just point out at this point, I've looked at some other social media around Jerry. People are just all over him. Everyone's coming after him. And once again, I've talked about this on the channel several times, this thought that digital interrogations work or something. I've never seen a case where that's actually done anything. So I know people are upset. I know people want to lash out. I know people are looking for the truth. But if you're watching this video, you're not directly connected to the case, you're not a family member, I don't think that's our place to go on this guy's social media and try to go after him. It's not It's not a web sleuth, internet detective thing. That's not what we do to help these cases. So that's why we've got that disclaimer at the start of these videos now. So, and here's actually Jerry Dean's kind of pointing out the same thing. Although it was reported that Jessica was going towards the direction of Highway 30, Jerry says this, and it's kind of, he already said it in the last comment, but he's kind of confirming it here. She was walking back towards the bridge where we put, I think he means put the boat in. You could see the bridge. In other words, we were not out of sight of the bridge where we started. So if this is him, that's 100%. He's saying she went back. And it kind of makes sense. Like if you think about a situation like that, you're trying to go out with your girlfriend, she's not happy. What's she going to do? She's going to roll off forward? I mean, what's up here? She's trying to get to this bridge. To what? There's really no services. You got a church that's kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. You got swamp that's over on this other side. I would think she's going to go back to the vehicle. And at a minimum, you've kind of got, you've got the school, maybe a few small businesses that are in this area. This makes a lot more sense that she would have been going back. So I'm not sure why we have that information that she was rolling forward. Over at WCBI.com, we've been working to try to find her, and she went into the water. It was very high water. We had to wait in some places until the water receded to get in, said Sheriff Jimmy Edwards. Her phone turned in by a man who said he was holding on to it because the couple was supposed to call him. His name actually does get released. We'll have that before the end of the video here. Dive teams have been in the water, cadaver dogs, drones with thermal imaging, the helicopter. They've done a pretty solid search effort here, and they're not finding, you can tell they are finding things. They haven't found her. Jacket, gloves, cut off boots. The sheriff says the terrain is a big challenge. There's creeks in it, huge deep ditches in it. We've gotten stuck ourselves, had to get ourselves winched out. Sheriff Edwards says another challenge is dealing with the barrage of hearsay and accusations on social media that threaten to delay and hinder the investigation. So this is something that has come up in particular, I think, with cases where there are law enforcement might be working with limited resources. Some of the bigger metropolitan cases, I hear the opposite when it comes to social media. They're basically like, hey, whatever information, send it our way. We're going to process it. This is one of those cases where they're being overwhelmed by the response from social media, and I think they don't know how to process it. The thing is, from the instances I'm hearing about, this isn't just like generalized social media noise. This is people in the area. And I can tell you, based on the social media I've seen around this, people making direct accusations, very strong direct accusations, usually in one particular direction. We're going to hear about some other examples here, but I just wanted to call out, if you are someone that wants to help in a case like this, if you don't know if the information you have is helpful, it's one of those things where we're constantly trying to balance. You could have a piece of the puzzle that you think isn't all that important, but you put it in the hand of an investigator that has the rest of the puzzle coming together, and they go, that's what I needed. Now we've got this connection and it makes sense. If you're someone that heard something from someone else, get that person to call it in. I can tell you, after being down this road several times in the work that I've done here on the channel over several years, even if you think you can be helpful by trying to make that first phone call yourself, all that's going to happen when you get to law enforcement or the FBI or whoever you're trying to reach out to is they're going to say, we need to talk to the person that your information is coming from. So don't add links to the chain for them. If you think you know someone that has the information, try to get them to make that phone call. And that helps in terms of, I think, the types of problems that this sheriff's department is having. We're going to hear a couple of details on those problems as we roll forward. But let's continue with another article at WLBT. No current sign of foul play. And I just wanted to stop for a moment and ask you guys. We've now gone through most of the basics of this case. Are you frustrated that at this point the sheriff could still say there's no strong signs of foul play? We've got media saying we don't have any strong indicators that we can say, or we can confirm there's a foul play situation going on here. I keep rolling back to, I really think there needs to be some universal set of conditions that if a person goes missing, doesn't have means to take care of themselves. I mean, look, she doesn't even have her boots or her jacket. And the temperature at this point, they were talking about some of the rain that night being near freezing. It's not reasonable that she's okay. Now, is that necessarily foul play? Still not, because you've got the potential that there's an accident that has happened here as well. It's a really, really tough spot. I wish there was more rigid structure for how to kind of escalate these investigations in some way. Especially, maybe it's based on time as time goes by. I don't know. It's something I would just like to see, I don't know, some type of think tank get together and kind of figure out in the future. Search for Jessica Stacks nearing 1 month. Union County Sheriff Jimmy Edwards said Stacks was on a boat with another person. The pair were searching for a pig. Now, once again, we're having this information that's kicked out and we're not being given solid sources. That's not a quote. We haven't heard any strong information coming from the sheriff where he's saying, I did talk to them. They did say specifically they were out there hunting. Even the information that we did get from Jerry Dean's Missing Persons of America, even if we know 100% that that's him, he's not really confirming what their intent was being out there that morning. I don't know. Stack's mother believes there is more to her daughter's disappearance than what has been previously reported. Edwards said, despite rumors, he understands the family's concern and wants peace for the Stacks family. And I know that's not a tough situation to be in. He's got to balance the available facts with the resources that he can get with those available facts. And on the other side, you've got the family saying, we know something else is up here. And how do you try to account for that? It's a tough situation to be in the middle, no doubt. People throughout Union County came together Saturday to pray for a young woman who disappeared on New Year's Day. That was, this is posted on February 6th. Kathy Payden broke down in tears as she tried to talk about her only daughter during a vigil Saturday night. We all love Jessica. We want Jessica home. We want justice for Jessica. She didn't just run off, she said. More than 100 people lit candles at the vigil and prayed in hopes that investigators will find Stacks soon. Residents also served food to help raise money for Stacks' family during this tough time. It means the world to me, it does. I'm so glad everybody came out here and showed that they love Jessica, she said. Then the media just really starts trailing off. We do get this in NamUs.news. Jessica Stacks' disappearance, a 2-month follow-up. New information that comes out here, just little detail, might be important, might not. Jerry Baggett is 45 years old. We know she's 28 years old. I don't know, if that would be important information to someone that was like a criminal profiler or someone that looks into domestic violence issues, if there's some type of relevant statistics around age gaps and potential for something like that. But I just wanted to include it because it's the first time I've seen in a source his age. Union County Sheriff Jimmy Edwards said that he was told that Willie Stinson, a Union County resident, helped Baggett and Stacks put the boat into the river. So Willie Stinson, once again, could that be his son? It's possible. Is it? I don't know. But we do have a name at this point. So we know that this extra person that reportedly had her phone is Willie Stinson. So what's been going on with the social media angle hindering law enforcement? Some really good and almost fist-shaking examples here. As someone that tries to help in this space, it breaks my heart to hear about instances like this. Law enforcement efforts have been hindered more than helped by extensive speculation on social media, specifically Facebook. Individuals claiming to know something about what happened to Jessica Stacks have posted their theories and speculations on Facebook, sending law enforcement officials on wild goose chases following fruitless leads. Union County Sheriff Jimmy Edwards told NamUs.news yesterday that someone posted something on Facebook on Saturday, February 20th, saying they knew where Jessica Stacks was buried. Deputies checked on the person who knew where Jessica was buried, but no usable information resulted. Then on Sunday afternoon, February 21st, someone called saying that they were riding an ATV and saw a body under the Rocky Ford Bridge. The caller was told to stay there. Law enforcement rushes out, but when they get there, nobody's there. Officers found no footprints or ATV tracks in the snow that would even indicate that anyone had been there in the first place. If this is, I just want to throw out this as a potential possibility. If this is a situation where we're talking about staging, we're talking about effectively, it's not even crime scene staging. It's like missing person staging at this point, because you're trying to pull the focus away from another location where resources might need to be. Would that be something that you would consider doing? Kind of ringing up the bell. Hey, you guys need to run over here. Hey, you guys need to run over there. Making sure that you're keeping them away from the place they actually should be checking. I'm curious, has there been any searches of the home? Were they living together? Have they looked at the boyfriend's home? The guy that was holding on to her cell phone, does he not have a cell phone of his own? Where was that? What was her phone doing for the 12 hours? I'm pretty sure they shouldn't have a problem getting access to her phone records. A lot of questions and not a lot of answers, and a family that's hurting in a spot where, you know, every day they're considering, am I supposed to be grieving? Am I supposed to be knowing that she's gone and she's never coming home? And they can't. They're every day they wake up again with that same consideration. It's terrible. Okay, over another article from NamUs Edwards gave no indication that he planned to stop searching. Although missing persons cases usually remain open indefinitely, he cannot allocate resources to the search forever. Based on what he was told, Stacks was missing from a relatively limited area, and it can only be scoured so many times. The longer the search goes on, the less likely it is that the missing woman will be found. According to NamUs, more than 600,000 people go missing in the United States every year. Data shows that between 89 to 92% of those missing people are recovered, either alive or deceased. According to the agency, they're often recovered in a few days. And we know that the vast majority of missing persons cases many of them practically solve themselves within a matter of a day or two. It's really the remaining 10 to 8%, those cases that go long-term. Those are the ones that we really need to focus on, do the extra work on, and try to help more. As heartbreaking as it is, without some new development, there's not much we can do, Edwards said. She's still at the very forefront of our minds. Hopefully something will break soon. I hope and pray we get a break, he said. Now, as of this article, which it's interesting because, you know, we talked about like the social media challenges and them kind of running these sheriffs around a little bit. This article is only about a month after she went missing. And this article says that they're basically already running out of tips at this point. So it's making me wonder, you know, a few months after the fact, here we are now, I'm putting something out on social media. Are they going to be looking for new information to come their way? Not if it's the type of information we heard about before, false leads and dead ends. We're looking for someone that has the real information. We're looking for someone, maybe you heard something from one of the people that we've mentioned in today's story, or someone close to them. Once again, if you can get that person close to them to call it in, that's what we're looking for. But this case needs help. This family deserves answers. I did find a Facebook group that is public called Finding Jessica Nicole Stacks. I don't know if this is run by the family, approved by the family, but I'm seeing that they're doing some good things. They've noted here that a company called Lamar Sign Company agreed to post this profile of her. They're noting on this profile there's also a reward of $3,000 for information that leads to Jessica's location. And I just want to call out Lamar. Thank you so much for being a shining light in a pretty dark story here and helping this family out. There is also a fundraiser that has been started by Carla Jones. The family of Jessica is requesting further investigation into her disappearance. In doing so, we need your help. All proceeds will go towards hiring an attorney and private investigator. No donation is too small, and all will be greatly appreciated. Her children and family deserve to know what happened to her that day. They've raised $640 out of their $5,000 goal. From myself and my amazing supporters, thank you guys so much. We're making a donation to them as well. We want to help increase this fund, and I'm going to have a link in the description box below. Please help us out. Please hit that link. Let's donate some more money to their cause as well. Also, down in the description box below, all of the links that we looked at today, some other links that we haven't looked at also included. The WebSleuths Thread, 22 pages so far, a lot of very good considerations. If you want to join in on a smart, meaningful conversation, WebSleuths is the place to do it. I'll have that down there as well. What do you think, Brain Scratchers? You know, I guess there's three major options that are going on here. Left of her own accord, I think that's a very low percentage possibility. Although, to be fair, we didn't hear in any of the articles that, you know, her accounts haven't been touched. But I would assume that if they had that information, probably would have come forward. So I'm still thinking that's kind of a low possibility. I think really the two main possibilities we're looking at, accident, which I think is a strong consideration. Sounds like a pretty treacherous area. Almost makes you wonder why they would have decided to go out there. You know, admittedly, it's a holiday. Maybe they had the day off. That's something they like doing. I don't know enough about them personally to make a good decision about that. I can tell you some people are theorizing maybe there was some disagreement that happened on New Year's Eve. And some people are wondering if she was even out at that spot at all, if she was taken out there at all. And that really brings us to the last consideration, some type of foul play scenario or situation. And there's two little legs where that even branches off for me, and that is foul play situation takes place there, or foul play situation takes place somewhere else, staging effort to make sure that law enforcement can't zero in on the real location. You have other considerations on that? Please let me know about them in the comments down below. And as always, I ask that we please remain respectful. Very good chance the family is going to come across this. She's got 3 kids wondering where their mother is. So please, let's be respectful in that comment thread. You guys are always really good about it, and I do appreciate it. Before I end today's video, I want to thank several people that are supporting us on Patreon. Thank you to new patrons Dubat, Melody McCaddy, and Millie and Gingy McLennan. If you would like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com, where you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even buy us a coffee like Kendra McFarlane did recently. We really appreciate your support as we try to help these families in these very, very tough situations. Stay safe. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you again here on Monday with a brand new episode of Case Cracked on the Lord and Arts channel.